what our office is working for. Try to stop tonight at the beginning. Did I learn from the pioneers about design, landscape architecture, about design, stratification design, who do architect who worked for Louis XIV, inspired me and maybe all the students from Versailles with, for sure, the Versailles itself, the park, like the topography, castle, everything like as an ensemble. You see here the interior. Is a culture of the transformation of site, not only the architecture, the arts, the different components, but you see as well in the bottom of the picture, you see a row of trees. The that strategy. Telling me it's not new, so at that time already it was like that. The garden, he extends this with a path looking to the horizon. The 18th century developed the avenue, and they developed a system by and so this system as a Cuban structure. That means a simple A could be in the part a very structural point about our RTER. This means the substratum and the planet at the same time. That's very interesting. The picture from the NASA, the 7/22 of our planet. So it was the beginning of the consciousness that the planet is not it's a closed system. Influence the whole planet. We have to take care. Our actions are very important. Even if it's local, it has a global influence. Bruno Latour said, is wrote in one of his book, me, they, local and at the. Another point is here, so we know now that the context is in motion, in movement. We like this. I like this island. To fight. So the sand, the water, that width. So as I said, as substratum, you have more or less. We have in French and English more or less set. So terrain, le terrain means plots of land. Le terroir means the relationship and agricultural, the territory, the scale. So everything, as I said, has to be terrestrial. So at the same time, local and. Oh, we do have. In Denmark, and he doesn't understand this land is totally and is for his system. Then he to dig out, and he found in the underground a canal. Still functioning very well, too well, and the water is when it rains, the water is very fast in the. It's different horizons, as we say in geography. So that means the water is crossing the different. We have find why don't we use different those different sounds and the different water. For example, what are asked to develop a park, to realize a park. Geologist. How is a fluid? And quite to out in the park, or very important place, the park, in order to stress. 5 meters in there. Like stage, first step down, then third spiral, living water. Yeah? So with vapor, damp, yeah, damp, sorry, steam, with steam, and sometimes it's like a geyser. Yeah? So it's really and it's living. It was invisible only for people coming for the clinic. Now it's in the public space. It's an event in the public space, a moving event in the public space. So we were in the underground. Sometimes we have to work not in the underground, but in the upper ground, on the rooftop of a building. Opportunity near Paris, in the periphery of Paris, in Cueil. We were asked first to reorganize the crossroads. Fast, we were asked to develop a urban, so a master plan to develop the city. It's very dense. There is no park, and the only possibility was to propose a public park on the rooftop of the future shopping mall. So the city accepts this idea, and so this is in red. This is the shopping mall. Shopping mall on the rooftop have all the chimneys or all the piping systems and everything. So develop vertical gardens around those pipes, chimneys. Give it a shopping mall inside, public park on the roof. The maintenance, the city, we have stairs, ramps, slopes around to the streets, totally public, and it works quite well. A few years later, it's still really so appreciated by the people living around this quite peaceful, just near the main roads I spoke at the beginning about. So we went around on the upper ground, and sometimes the ground in our city, the open ground, is very important. Is how could we develop more open ground, more living ground? New districts. Take the freeway, the train, so we have a lot of noise. We try to develop the urbanists a concept of inhabited wood surrounded by offices like screen again the north. Very exposed. We have a road around, but its system is only green. So inside the vertical, first we have and side gardens on the other or places. This is the public part, for example. You go out of your apartment. It was during the site construction for sure, so we can understand that only earth and trees green street here and cross, but it's like there is no road. The road is only around, and for the cars you have the parking in the underground of the buildings, connected directly with the surrounding road. So this is one side. On one side, the green. On the same side, the connection between this green road and the building, we have like a canal, different bridges to cross and to reach the entries. And this is the other side, the private gardens with quite a very strong biodiversity on this side. And it was only a neighborhood district. If we are landscape architects developing parks, we can have, for sure, the park is the place to have a living ground. We develop in the park, even if it's a public park, gardens maintained by inhabitants, nourishing gardens with the production. This is one example here. Along the Seine River, park. So here it used to be a big industrial site. Now developing so a new district, big park, to the river Seine. Water management is very important, defining different islands in the park. The section for that is important. The play with topography, you will see many sections in our. That's the base of the way of thinking. So how could we transform existing components and organize the biodiversity and the water management through the work on the section. So this is the district growing around the park. The park started with this water management near so existing terraces. This one part of the park is very biodiverse, like this one here. We do have fields which are like so agriculture fields. And the most important thing for us was to have from the beginning gardens for the first inhabitants, even before finished all on island gardens. So that quality of district, and so the vegetation is growing until this stage. And in addition to this, so the gardens, we have like a greenhouse. We have many activities, social interactions to activate as much as possible this place as a city center. So, and near the Seine, we can have that kind of scenery. But landscape could be even more than a park or a new district. Could construct a resilient urban structure. When we, for example, anticipating the flood, we are along the Seine again, in sort of 40 miles away from Paris. This in the periphery, and two cities, the question was to develop a new district in, and the limit between the earth, the river is not very close to the flood. In the season we are. That's why we had the idea to develop a new district, but partly floodable. So we have the half of the surface is a floodable surface. The half of it is built. That means in the middle you see it's the island in the middle. Around it, it's a park. It's a very it's a natural park, a bit so. It's not really kind of so isolated. For sure, we have bridges. But, we can deal with this movement, yeah, with this risk. And to deal with this risk, we cannot do that alone. As designers, we need to work with the inhabitants. And I should say that the mayor and the police were really afraid about this idea. And they were even more afraid about the other idea, which was to have less cars as usual, and to develop a tramway system between stations. But the inhabitants, they're even more extremist. So they push the idea in order to have like a ecologist district. Them 1 year long to define exactly which was a very good experience. So for the future, we are really okay to work with a consultation with the people, with the inhabitants. It's really, it brings us many ideas. They are very very strong. Another project, it's a rain floodable park. This time is it's the Parc Billancourt. Not the flood is not river, but the flood, it's a rain. It's coming by the rain. This competition was won by Patrick Chaban. So we spoke about him a few minutes ago. So it used to be the former Renault factory, the car maker, French car maker Renault. They demolished the whole site, all factory, and in the site you see it totally demolished, and to have a park there along the side. You see all the it's like a around the parks, the districts and the cities are or the arrondissements are organized all around the park. Quite a park. Sit down. Reservoir. All the blue points are in every one of the blocks are the place to collect, to collect the water, the rainwater. The rainwater is guided, open air along the streets, the alleys. If it rains a lot, the park is flooded. So, more or less flooded. You can see here the section. So if we have here landscape architectural students and architectural students, we need the section. The section is really the way to think the relationship between the buildings and the landscape and the climate change is playing a role here. So we can understand here that the park, the middle of the park is lifted down, heights with retaining walls. That means the water we can accept more or less 2 meters high water level inside. That means it's a civil project with offices working together. We have to organize. It was the first place, the place where the water can go open air. It's along the buildings, along the two bridges to enter in. And then the water go to the park is filtered, and then the water goes out the yeah, it's a visual effect, like a threshold to arrive. A building from Jean Nouvel. I don't know if Olivier used to work on it or not. You were already maybe in Los Angeles at that time. So there are park is from the beginning there. Well, sorry. Maybe I moved something. Okay. It's from the beginning there, and the buildings are constructed one after the other. Park has centrality again. The same building, Nouvelle. At the we already have the water, the park as a reservoir, like a urban beach. We can maybe say that here. The entrance on the park are sometimes like bridges. You have to cross the conciergerie, maybe house here. Sometimes it's dry because we have many dry area in the park. Try to be totally immersed in the green, to the zonal effects, and with a very chic white party in green. So from all the bourgeois, the Boulogne are going there. They like it, and so this from is as maybe Olivier will explain. But it's a trap close by night. It's close. So what is control to through those bridges and everything. It close it, and if it's closed, it has a visible. Oh, okay. It's important to play with the water even if we don't see directly the water. So, for example, maybe I don't have to touch anything. Maybe Jean Nouvel, where are you? You are. It's in Marseille. We were asked so we won the competition with François Leclerc, a French urbanist in Marseille, to develop the docks. The first question was to see the site. We understand this site, which is directly along the sea, from above. To go right and And from above, when we are on the top of, we can see it. We can see the Marseille is a bit like a several days a year rain, but when it rains a lot. The mountain, yes, we can realize here. Follow, but we see this erosion. We can understand where the water flows from the top of the hill of the mountain to the. And the idea was park along. Park is the connection between the new district related to the industrial port and the historical city of Marseille as well. For sure, we have Lungomare, the pedestrian, with a belvedere looking at the sea. And in the park, it is the normal situation. We have a retaining system to block the water, so water basin. When it rains a lot, it's like this, for sure, but still in the park, the system is for sure risk. And a bit like right now, you have the project on the river, so the river project, which is a dry river, sometimes with no water. It's the same thing here, but the river is urban. It's a component of the city, but is as well a urban component with the transportation system. It could be a kind of centrality, and not the edge of the city, but a central element. In Strasbourg right now, we're landscape architect. We are lead of several developing the new city center in the former industrial port of Strasbourg, connecting France and Germany. We are along the Rhine River, and this is really the start of German work. We was the mayor of Strasbourg and Hale in Germany. It's a here existing place, so the water, it's a port, industrial port, from canals. We have real architecture with different vertical, beautiful. So it's inspired context. What is inspiring is as well the Rhine, the different canals. If you see in the middle of this island, here we have a fringe, so with a lot of vegetation. And 50 years ago, it used to be a canal as well. We can see here in the middle, the white line. It used to be a canal. It was filled up, maybe. That's why we are trying now to develop linear park along the Rhine River, along the canals, and this former canal we just saw will be a linear park. That means to solve the problem, we have to de-zoom here. Have to only to see it from west nor east, France, Germany, or Germany, France, where in some you have train or all the so the roads are east-west, but north-south you have the Rhine River, you have the remaining forests, biodiversity reservoir, and we are trying to connect those biodiversity reservoir, the forest, existing forest in the north and in the south. They will go through the new district of the port. So this is the stage of the work. Today we are developing it, so with the canals, with the green canal in the middle, which is a linear park. It's very difficult because we have a lot of, it's still industrial. It will work as an industry partly, and partly it will be the extension of the city center of Strasbourg and the connection with Kiel. In Shanghai, right now, we won a competition as well to develop the river, 15 miles long. For us, Shanghai is for sure a skyline. Yeah, so there is a skyline of you can see it very easily from everywhere, but it's as well a waterline. The river is a waterline. How could we define a bit better the waterline? Here we have a lot of mud. Yeah, mud. Mud. Every time this river is turning, spring, the mud, an accumulation of mud, and this mud is for us very important. For example, in front of the Bund, so here you see on the one side you have the Bund, the historical, beautiful side. On the other front, where we are, so on the bottom of the picture, you have the mud and the vegetation and the biodiversity, and which is still habitat. That is not to cancel or to demolish. We need to develop this living ground in Shanghai. So you see it here, the mud, the accumulation of mud. For sure, we don't want to let it like that. We have to increase the fertility, so it has to be fertile because it's kind of it's earth, and the mud as a stratum will be like this in the future. So with different pedestrian bridges along with different speeds. A slow one directly connected to the water. In the middle, it's for sports, and then the speed, the more the fast way. So this is the different. This is the slow, the middle one, and the very fast one here at the end. And we are now developing with in Shanghai as well. So we are developing this project. One more time is Jean Nouvel constructing the new museum. So here we are still. It's random, but he will build it along the park here, and it's quite a fantastic project us to different parts of the city of Shanghai, and with the help of a transportation system. It's not only the living ground; it has to be thought as a centrality. That means a connection points for all public transportation. And with for sure how night, so lightning. So how could it be by night? We are working with the different offices for those different subjects. And then, at least, last but how could we create urban intensities with those ideas of living grounds in the city? and sometimes in the middle of the city, not in the periphery, not only along along the river, for example, but sometimes really in the middle of the city, like in here in Barcelona, Glorias Catalanes, the urban canopy. We are selected to realize this. Here and along this Barcelona, the very well-known diagonal avenue. But this it is a crossing point, cross point between the diagonal and the former canal, which were connected to the Bezos River. So the first freeway in the 70s, you can see it how it is, and in the 90s they realized like a lifted duct, like a big ring. 2 years ago, the city of Barcelona took the decision to put this big ring, so to demolish all the structure, all the infrastructure, and to have the road, all the in the underground. That means we don't have anymore this kind of picture. We will have, this is our project now, a big park in the middle of the city. So our answer is not exactly a park than a plaza, but it's urban park. Because in Barcelona, what do we need? They do have many beautiful plazas, but here we need, for example, in summer, we need coolness. We need to lower the temperature. We need a canopy, and that was the idea here, to develop the canopy, to develop the biodiversity, with the porosity, to be there in the middle of the city, even in summer. So different sections, even if it's very easy, but has to be with continuity. One on the top, then need the canopy or green roof canopy. And then we need the nodes, we need holes in this canopy in order to have a ventilation, a natural ventilation system. So that we work between the stratification is this. We are adding the infrastructures in time, all the much we had a before. In the middle, the white one, as a belt to see kind of Barcelona. I have to look. No, not at all. Olivier, I need your help. It's your computer. It's not. Perfect. And this is so we are in the metro station. We go out of the metro station and reaching the park level. So the temperature is lowered because of the canopy, the birds, so the biodiversity, the nodes are playing an important role for sure in. stand in a city center. Last project tonight is we are trying to adapt to the. We are working with stakeholders, but the idea is for us when we saw this, it's not a plaza. It's not. I cannot recognize a plaza there. It's too complicated, too much walls. It's a lifted up space with a lot of stairs. We need a bit more simple. Act people to place, and when we saw a picture of the same place, 19, it is totally flat. It's very easy to reach. You have trees, you have biodiversity in the middle of the city. You have shops, restaurants. It's quite nice. It was really the reference to develop here, and the question was, is it possible? It is possible because the lifted up plaza is lifted up because of the parking. The first level of the parking is too high, so I don't know in feet, but it's 5 meters high. So we can reduce it. It's too high. We can reduce it without losing the cars or places for cars in the parking. That means we can more or less develop an open field in the middle of the city, and we can develop a bit like in Barcelona, canopies, and two kinds of canopies, a natural canopy on one side with trees, and on the other side a constructed canopy, the smart canopy, because we will be able to with solar cells for the energy, to develop this for the energy system. We will be able to capture the water, the rainwater. So we have a reservoir in the parking, and in the middle, so kind of plaza with which is a hybrid system, kind of park and of a plaza for everyone, and constructed canopy with different boxes. We will have restaurants, cafes. We could be on the top of those boxes to have like a balcony looking at the plaza. So it's ongoing system. It's not finished for sure. We are working, as I said, with different local offices, and it's very fantastic for us to open this small office in Los Angeles to work here and to develop this living ground in downtown with a social component for sure. We under the natural canopy, we do have gardens, thematic gardens. We have to work with the inhabitants to develop exactly what they need in those gardens. The idea is as well to organize a better connection with the Biltmore Hotel, to point out the lobby of the Biltmore Hotel. You know that the lobby is not anymore now looking at the plaza, but it's on the other street, because the shape, the plaza has a bad shape today, and we would like to bring back the lobby of the Biltmore back to the plaza with
water basin with the new entrance of the Biltmore, and to develop the flexibility or the different uses of the park of the plaza and the park for concerts like here, for simply to be relaxed in the middle of downtown, to have an open air cinemas, movies, look at movies, and we are trying to develop here a light concept, so moving light with Leo Villarreal, who is working, and a light artist working as well for the San Francisco Bay Bridge and as well in London for different bridges. So trying to develop this new intensity in downtown Los Angeles with living grounds, with the many uses, social component. I am more or less at the end. I am at the end of the lecture. Thank you for your attention. Yeah, thank you.
If you guys have some questions. In the city, it's outside, it's inside but outside at the same time because of the walls. We have to put the wall in order to make it one or people, and why we say at the beginning radical flatness. Yeah, have it open and radical. It's a maybe a more European way of thinking. If you go to Europe or Italy or France, the plazas are totally simple because the animation it's not very simple. Yeah, so people surface, so you can organize any kind of concert there. If you have too many walls and too many I know maybe you have done the competition. I don't know. And we have seen when we made we have made a comparison with other offices who made the competition, which made the competition. They tried to develop more hills or more topography, and totally at the opposite of this. I think it's another way of thinking. It's more. I think it's more urban, even if it's living grounds. We will have trees, vegetation, but the fact to develop it as a flat topography, I think it's more urban. It's more attractive for any kind of uses.
Now that you have an office in LA, and your firm has a lot of experience with, river management, flood control, has anyone reached out to you about the LA River?
Yes, we spoke a bit about with right in front of you. You have Rain Hammer from our office here in Los Angeles. We spoke a bit about the LA River. I'm not so involved in the LA River project. Yeah, so, but I think it's an important subject for the city. It used to be at the edge of town, but a central element in many movies. So for sure, we see the concrete shape of the river in many movies. But I think it could be really a urban a subject to develop the city, bicycle lanes, to have public transport to relink the city. The east side of the city is really important because it brings a new continuity, not only for the water but for the. It will to different sites, different places. Which could be totally different, the one from the other, but at the end the continuity is the river. So we need at the same time a strong continuity in different places. It could be totally, it could be a new reference for the city, for the landscape of the city of Los Angeles. Today we have the grid, on one side. The nature is on both sides. We need a strong, I think we need a strong landscape and urban landscape in the middle, structuring the city.
Well, they will have an opportunity to engage in that dialogue at some point.
Oh, with pleasure. With pleasure. Yeah.
Especially the Shanghai project between integrating the fauna and also having this idea of crowd creating public spaces. But I think at the same time there is real contradiction between crowds of people and like the size of fauna, but establishing natural world animals. I thought this contradiction.
Yeah. This contradiction is not only in Shanghai; it's everywhere. Even here, even in this project, or every time we try to combine biodiversity, habitat, animals, people, it's difficult. So I assume this difficulty, but we have to solve it because of the. So we are developing the urban systems. The climate is changing. We need to organize the natural components in our metropolis. We have to find a way. So that's why I showed. So I put tonight examples in the rooftop. It's difficult, but why not? If we don't have the place to do that, we have to develop it on the rooftop or along the rivers. Even if we have people, we have to accept many people, but we have to try to develop the biodiversity. So that's true. So your question is totally so true. So it's right, but we have to find a way. So and we have to change our culture as well to not to destroy everything, but to be kind with the biodiversity, with plants, and even if it's in the city, it's a new culture. So we have to develop it inside the metropolis, not only outside, away the country, in the city. And this is it is a challenge. That's true.
Any projects are treated more extreme. I think that every project that you work on right now are always extremely oriented to the public and teams.
Yeah.
Do you have any
Private.
suggestions on how do you think maybe that's actually worked on more intensely?
If it's not for the public, you mean if it's private or if it's not?
Like I think that most of the projects that you have presented us are always, as much as they are trying to mix, the urban and biodiversity, it's always much more intense towards the public.
Public, yeah. Because
in general, you think
the base of our activity is in Europe. If we are working outside Europe, like Shanghai, even here, at the beginning it was private, so private association, so Pershing's revenue, and now it's the city of Los Angeles. Now it's public project. So almost all the projects in this lecture are public, and that's our activity is. So maybe 80% of our activity is oriented to public projects. That's why it's normal. Yeah, so and then you have many private projects. Sometimes we work for, but it's maybe they are not as recognizable as the public strategy. So connecting many different places. So I think we need both. I don't think we have to do this. I'm just showing you what we are doing, and we have to combine this public strategy with local, private, smaller projects, and that's as well very interesting. For example, the public project of Strasbourg on the Rhine. It is for me now the opportunity to combine the development of the river, but as well to organize private projects. Yeah, so the plots, architecture. So I am organizing a competition for architects, for example, and we the dialogue with landscape and architecture is. I think it's great. Yeah, so I like it a lot. I like as well architecture. So. That's important to have both. Yeah, so I'm just showing you my way of thinking, which where the landscape is the way to think. It's the most the main orientation. That does I don't mean that doesn't mean that I don't like architecture, for example. The opposite. The opposite. I like beautiful architecture with strong landscape.
Mm-hmm. And maybe we thank you I'll stop there. Thank you for your presentation. I was really attracted by, it seems like there's this sort of portability in your living ground designs that and it can be adapted. But I was curious if you could elaborate on some of the limitations as far as instead of being horizontal, like in the very beginning you showed on top of the shopping mall, how you integrate like a sustainable living system or living ground on top of existing structures, kind of like a retrofit,
yeah.
and maybe what are the limitations, and also what is the extent of your control on maybe microclimates, and like offering humidity control or sound buffers and things like that. That seems very attractive in this concept of integrating.
Yes, that's very important, but I was too fat to explain this project, but it was existing shopping mall. So we thought that this shopping mall accept a top. So we okay with it. Then architects and promoters, and for the winners, he asked them to finance. So it was a condition. So you are the winner if you accept to finance the public park on the rooftop. You finance it. I maintain it as a public manager, and they accept that. Develop the together with the shopping mall. After it was together, and so we asked, could you, as architect, the rooftop not as a horizontal one? There is a shape on the roof, and they were totally agreed. It was really a dialogue with them. So not only the biodiversity, the climate, so humidity and everything that you mentioned, but even the shape was really done together with the architects. We needed to, and even for the stairs and the ramps and everything. At the end, it's one project, totally private. So the private realized everything. The private is managing only the shopping mall, and the public is maintaining the top, so the rooftop. So that's the. I don't have recipes. So the main idea is to work with, people with architects in that develop a good project. And it has to function very well. So, for example, we do have in the public park, windows. Yes. So to all so so it's top. So we have to work for those different details together from the beginning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Ça va?